We weren't supposed to stop here. Satomi, the kids, and I were exploring back roads near Mount Yotei in Hokkaido, looking for an interesting place to stop along the way down to Lake Toya. We found something on the map that looked like it might be worth stopping at for a minute. Needless to say that, with my camera in hand, that minute became way longer than expected. We came to Fukidashi Koen, famous for its mineral springs. From the parking lot, it's hard to tell where all the water is, so we found the map and started on our way down one of the nature paths. Little by little, you could begin to hear the mountain pouring itself into the valley. And then I saw the water. 80,000 tons a day, gushing from moss-covered rocks. Crystal clear. People lined up with jugs and bottles like this was the most normal thing in the world. I walked up to the information board and read something that really made me stop and think for a minute. This water is 50 to 100 years old. The snow that fell on this mountain before my children were even born, before I came to Japan, is emerging right now in this moment. And suddenly I understood I wasn't just looking at a spring. I was looking at a lesson about time, transformation, and what it really takes to create something pure. I didn't pull out my camera because I thought it would make for a pretty postcard, but because I needed to understand what I was seeing. When you photograph water, you're making a choice about time itself. A fast shutter speed freezes every droplet, sharp and separate. But slow down your shutter a fourth of a second, half a second, 2 seconds, and something else emerges. The water becomes silk. Individual moments blur into flow. What was chaotic becomes serene. To what degree you want either side of that is ultimately up to you. That's when I realized that this water spent 50 plus years moving slowly through darkness, and the only way to photograph its essence was to slow down my camera to match. Fast photography would have missed the truth. Fukidashi Koen isn't famous. You won't find it in most guidebooks. There's no celebrity architect attached to it, no Instagram famous photo spot. When you think of Japanese garden design, you probably picture Kyoto, Ryoanji's rock garden, the golden pavilion reflecting in perfect water. Gardens where every stone was placed by a master, where the designer's vision is the thing you're meant to experience. But this place is different. This is anonymous landscape design. No one's name is attached to these paths or bridges. The garden exists to frame the water and the mountain, not to showcase human genius. That's why I was drawn to this Shizen spot in Hokkaido. It's where nature reigns, and with just a little touch of human creativity, it brings it to another level. As a photographer, I'm trained to look for composition. Leading lines, rules of thirds, foreground interest. But walking these paths, I realized the garden was teaching me something different. How to see through subtraction rather than addition. Look at how this bridge is positioned. It doesn't dominate the frame. It creates negative space, an interval that lets your eye rest before moving to the water. The Kannon statues aren't clustered for impact. They're spaced so you encounter them one at a time, with breathing room in between. I'd say this is a wabi-sabi composition, beauty through restraint. The garden shows you what not to photograph as much as what to capture. In my early photography, I tried to fit everything into the frame, every detail, every element. But the best photographs, like this garden, know what to leave out. The power is in the pause, the empty space, the silence between notes. I started thinking about what that snow went through. It fell on the summit, light, crystalline, unique. Then it melted and sank into the mountain's volcanic rock, beginning a journey through complete darkness. For decades, that water moved through stone, filtered by layers of volcanic ash and mineral deposits. No light, no acknowledgement, just the slow, patient work of gravity and geology. In photography, we talk about developing your eye. But we've forgotten that term comes from darkroom work, the slow chemical process where an image gradually appears in the developer's solution. You can't rush it. Too fast and the image is thin, weak. You have to let the paper sit in darkness. Let the chemicals do their work. Digital photography sort of killed that patience. Now we see our images instantly, judge them immediately, delete the failures before they've had time to reveal themselves. But this water reminded me, the best transformations happen where you can't see them, in the dark, underground, in the interval between capture and emergence. Came to Fukidashi Koen and it is beautiful. The leaves are in full, not bloom, but peak autumn here. Yotei's on. Mount Yotei is still covered in clouds today, but you can't see them from this viewpoint, but we're going to check the waterfalls out. I've been shooting for over 20 years, but my best photographs weren't taken yesterday. They're the ones I shot a year ago, 5, 7, 10 years ago that I'm only now understanding. The image was always there. I just needed time to develop the eyes to see it. Fukidashi Koen is a designed space. Someone laid out these paths, built these bridges, positioned these statues of Kannon, the bodhisattva of compassion. 33 of them, representing a traditional pilgrimage route. But the design doesn't dominate. The water dominates. The mountain dominates. The garden just steps back and frames them. This is Shizen, the natural aesthetic principle my whole channel is built around. It means natural and spontaneous, but also artfully arranged. The skill is in making the arrangement invisible, so the essential elements can speak. There's a photography principle I teach. Your job isn't to make nature beautiful. Nature's already beautiful. Your job is to remove the obstacles between the viewer and that beauty. I'm not adding drama with heavy editing. I'm using a polarizing filter to remove glare from the water's surface so you can see its clarity. I'm choosing an angle that excludes the parking lot, the people, the plastic bottles, not to lie about the place, but to reveal its essential character. And sometimes, yes, I do include some of the people in it. It all depends on what I want to highlight. The garden does the same thing. It positions you where the mountain frames perfectly behind the water. Except on a day like today when it's super foggy and clouded over and you can't see Mount Yotei behind everything, but I know it's there. It plants trees that will, in 20 years, create the shade pattern someone envisioned. The design is there. You just don't see the designer's hand. That's the highest level of both garden design and photography, when your technique becomes invisible and only the truth remains. There's a term in Japanese aesthetics, ma. It means interval, gap, the negative space, the silence that gives meaning to sound. We forget that creativity needs these intervals, that thinking needs empty space, that we can't always be producing, always be moving forward. Sometimes the work is just standing near clear water, listening, letting your mind rest. I took maybe 20 photographs that afternoon, 20 from hundreds of possible angles, but most of my time wasn't spent shooting. It was spent looking. Walking the perimeter, noticing how light changed on the moss. Does this aggravate my family? Yes, but that's why these situations are often best if you separate your photography outing and family trips. But in this case, we just went with the flow. I was also watching how people interact with the water. The photographs I took aren't the point. The seeing that happened between the photographs, that's where the real work occurred. This is what I mean by ma in photography. In this instance, the space between shots is as important as the shots themselves. The interval is where your vision develops. When that water finally emerges after 50 years, it doesn't struggle. It doesn't announce itself. It just pours out, fully formed, completely clear. People come here and immediately recognize its quality. It's been named one of Japan's 100 best spring waters since the 80s. Everyone can taste what those 5 decades underground created, but nobody's celebrating the individual water molecules for their journey. The water doesn't need recognition. It needed time, pressure, and darkness. The emergence is just a natural consequence. The locals say this water makes their rice shine. It's a small thing, just a subtle improvement in how light reflects off the grains, just a subtle texture difference when you eat it. But that sheen is the accumulation of everything that happened underground. I think about my photography that way now. The images I'm making today might not be fully clear to me for years. They're in the mountain right now, filtering through experience, waiting for the moment when they'll emerge and I'll finally understand what I was seeing. The books I've recently published, The Quiet Lens and Shizen Style Flow, I started writing years ago. The photos I chose for The Quiet Lens were made over time. I needed time to develop the eyes to see which images mattered. People sometimes ask me how to speed up the creative process, and I understand that pressure. But some things aren't meant to be rushed. Some transformations only happen in the dark. Over time, you can't see or measure it. Your best work might be underground right now. Just give it time. Before I left, I walked around the area one more time. I think that's an important thing to do. Circle your subject, wait for the light, return tomorrow if that's an option, or next season, next year. The water will still be here, but you'll see it differently. The water kept flowing, like it has every day for centuries. 80,000 tons emerging from 50 years of darkness. Patient, clear, complete. There's probably a Fukidashi near you. Not literally, maybe, but someplace where natural processes are working at their own pace. A local stream. A park where seasons visibly change. Even just a window where you can watch light move across a wall. Bring your camera or just your eyes. Practice seeing slowly. Notice what emerges when you stop trying to capture everything and start trusting the interval. Because eventually, clear water emerges. Clear vision emerges. It always does. You just have to give it time underground. And another key concept is about embracing that moment when it does. Check out this next video for that subject.